First contact in the void. The stellar horizon cut through the darkness of deep space, its quantum engines humming with barely contained power as Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge's observation window. The massive structure floating before her shouldn't exist, not out here in the unexplored reaches of the Carina Arm, 30,000 light-years from Earth. Analysis complete, Captain. Lieutenant Park's voice carried a note of awe. It's definitely artificial. Preliminary dating suggests it's been here for at least 50,000 years. The station hung motionless against the backdrop of stars, its curved architecture unlike anything humanity had encountered in their centuries of space exploration. Crystalline spires stretched for kilometers, connected by graceful bridges that seemed to defy physics. Most of the structure was dark, but here and there, lights still pulsed with a soft blue glow. Life signs? Sarah asked, though she expected the answer to be negative. Nothing this old should still harbor life. One, Park replied, his voice barely a whisper. Weak, but stable. Located in what appears to be the central hub. Sarah's heart raced. First contact. After centuries of finding only ruins and remnants of long-dead civilizations, humanity might finally encounter a living alien intelligence. She straightened her uniform, a habit from her years of training that helped center her thoughts. Prep the shuttle. I want a small team. Myself, Park for tech, Dr. Morrison for xenobiology, and Torres for security. Full containment protocols. The shuttle journey was tense with anticipation. As they approached, the station's true scale became apparent. The stellar horizon, one of humanity's largest exploration vessels, looked like a toy decided. Their entry point was a massive hangar, its doors long since frozen open to the vacuum of space. Inside, their lights revealed a graveyard of ancient ships, their designs as alien as the station itself. The team moved cautiously through the pressurized corridors, their boots magnetized to compensate for the station's failing artificial gravity. The life sign is stronger now, Park reported, checking his scanner. 200 meters ahead. Captain, it's moving toward us. Sarah raised her hand, signaling the team to halt. In the beam of their lights, a figure appeared. Tall and graceful, its form was humanoid but clearly alien. Its skin had a subtle iridescence, like mother of pearl, and its large eyes reflected their lights with a crystalline quality. I am Naira. The alien spoke, her voice carrying clearly through their comms despite the thin atmosphere. Last keeper of the Nexus. And you are the ones we have waited for. Before Sarah could respond, the station shuddered violently. Warning lights flashed across their suits' displays as energy readings spiked off the charts. The station's power core is destabilizing, Park shouted. Some kind of cascade reaction. Back to the shuttle, Sarah ordered, but Naira reached out, grabbing her arm with surprising strength. No time, the alien said. The quantum surge will destroy your ship. There is only one way to survive. She pulled Sarah toward a circular platform near the wall. Trust me, or we all die. Sarah made her decision in a split second. Everyone on the platform. Now. The team barely made it before Naira activated some kind of control panel. The world around them blazed with impossible light, and Sarah felt reality itself twist. The last thing she saw before losing consciousness was the station beginning to break apart, and then they were falling through space toward a planet that hadn't been there moments before. Their shuttle, never designed for atmospheric entry, screamed in protest as they plunged toward the surface. Sarah fought with the controls, trying to slow their descent, while Naira worked frantically with the alien technology she had somehow brought with them. Can you land this craft? Naira asked, her voice calm despite their situation. Land might be a generous term, Sarah replied through gritted teeth, but I can crash it in a way we might survive. The planet's surface rushed up to meet them, a landscape of twisted metal and stone, the ruins of what must have once been a mighty civilization. Sarah aimed for a relatively flat area, using the last of their maneuvering fuel to soften their impact. The crash was violent but controlled. When the dust settled, Sarah found herself hanging from her restraints, alive but disoriented. Around her, her crew were already moving, checking each other for injuries. And there was Naira, standing impossibly steadied despite the shuttle's angle, her crystalline eyes fixed on Sarah with an unreadable expression. "Your skill at survival is impressive," Naira said, helping Sarah from her restraints. "You will need that skill in the days to come. This world, it was once my home. Now it guards secrets that could save both our peoples or destroy everything we know." Through the shuttle's cracked viewport, Sarah could see the alien ruins stretching to the horizon, and above them, strange lights danced in the purple sky. Whatever had brought them here, whatever secrets this world held, she knew their real journey was just beginning. "Then we better get started," Sarah said, checking her equipment, "because something tells me we're running out of time." Survival and trust. The alien sun cast long shadows across the ruins as Sarah Chen led her team through the wreckage of their shuttle, salvaging what they could. The crash had destroyed most of their long-range communication equipment, but they'd managed to save their basic survival gear, weapons, and portable scientific instruments. Dr. Morrison worked quietly beside Naira, scanning her with a medical tricorder, while their alien companion stood perfectly still, her iridescent skin shifting colors in the strange light. "Remarkable," Morrison muttered. "Your cellular structure. It's unlike anything we've encountered." "My people adapted to survive in many environments," Naira explained, her crystalline eyes fixed on the horizon. "But even our adaptations couldn't save us from what came." She turned to Sarah, who was checking their portable power cells. "We must reach the archive before nightfall. The surface becomes unsafe when darkness falls." Sarah nodded, recognizing the urgency in Naira's voice. "Tourist Park, finish securing the crash site. Morrison, you're with me, and Naira. Keep your weapons ready. I don't like the way those ruins look." They'd moved through the ancient city, Naira leading them between towering structures that seemed to defy gravity. The architecture was similar to the space station they'd encountered, but weathered by time and whatever catastrophe had befallen this world. Here and there, patches of strange, metallic vegetation had taken root in the ruins, pulsing with an inner light. "Your people built all this?" Sarah asked, helping Morrison over a fallen column. "We were the Ardani," Naira replied, her voice carrying a weight of history. "For 1,000,000 years, we explored the stars, built wonders, sought to understand the deepest mysteries of existence. We thought our knowledge made us invincible." She paused, touching one of the glowing plants. "We were wrong." A distant rumbling stopped them in their tracks. The ground trembled, and from somewhere in the ruins came a sound like tearing metal. Sarah's hand went to her weapon, but Naira quickly pulled it down. "Movement draws them," she whispered. "The Guardians. They protect the archive, though they no longer remember why." As if in response, a massive form rose from behind a collapsed building. It was like a living sculpture of metal and crystal, its body shifting and flowing as it moved. Multiple sensor arrays swept the area, searching. "What we built to protect us," Naira explained softly, "evolved beyond our control. The Guardians were supposed to defend our knowledge, but after the catastrophe, their programming became corrupted. Now they attack anything that moves near the archive." The Guardian paused, its sensors pointing in their direction. Sarah held her breath, feeling Morrison tense beside her. After what seemed like an eternity, the machine moved on, disappearing behind another ruined structure. "That's why you needed us," Sarah realized. "You couldn't reach the archive alone." Naira nodded. "My biology is too similar to the Ardani. The Guardians recognize and target me immediately. But you're different enough that we might have a chance, especially with your technology." They reached what appeared to be an ancient plaza, its surface covered in intricate patterns that still glowed faintly. In the center, a structure rose like a spire of crystal and light, reaching toward the darkening sky. "The archive," Naira announced. "Everything my people knew. Everything we discovered, and everything we feared, is stored within. Sarah studied the building, her tactical training kicking in. How many guardians? Dozens, perhaps hundreds. They cluster more densely the closer we get to the entrance. Naira's skin shifted to a darker hue. And we're running out of time. When night falls, they become more aggressive, more unpredictable. As if to emphasize her point, the sun began to sink behind the ruins, and the strange lights in the sky grew brighter. More sounds echoed through the city. Mechanical movements, energy discharges, the hum of ancient systems coming alive. Sarah activated her comm. Torres, Park, what's your status? Shuttle secured, Captain, Torres replied. But we're picking up multiple moving signatures converging on your position. Whatever they are, they're big. Get to higher ground and maintain observation, Sarah ordered. We're going to need an exit strategy. She turned to Naira. All right, we've got unknown hostile forces, limited visibility, and technology we barely understand. Just another day at the office. Naira tilted her head, not understanding the human idiom, but recognizing the determination in Sarah's voice. You're not afraid. Oh, I'm terrified, Sarah admitted with a grim smile. But fear keeps you sharp. And right now, we need every advantage we can get. She checked her weapons charge and adjusted her tactical vest. Tell me everything you know about the Guardians. If we're going to beat them, we need to understand them. As Naira began to explain, more mechanical sounds echoed through the ruins, closer now. The last rays of sunlight caught the crystalline spire of the archive, making it glow like a beacon. Whatever secrets it held, whatever dangers guarded it, Sarah knew they had no choice but to press forward. Humanity had always pushed the boundaries of the possible, and she wasn't about to stop now. The night was falling, and with it came the promise of violence. But in the growing darkness, Sarah saw something in Naira's crystalline eyes that gave her hope. Recognition. Recognition that perhaps humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons, but their relentless determination to face the impossible and find a way through. Let's move, Sarah commanded, and together, Human and Ardani, they began planning their assault on the archive as the guardians of a dead civilization closed in around them. The legacy of two worlds. The night air crackled with energy as Sarah Chen studied the holographic map Park had constructed of the archive's surroundings. Guardians patrolled in precise patterns, their crystalline forms casting eerie shadows in the perpetual twilight of the alien world. The Guardian's sensor patterns overlap here, and here, Sarah pointed out, her finger tracing paths through the blue light of the hologram. But there's a 3-second gap in their coverage near the eastern entrance, if we time it right. It won't be enough, Naira interrupted, her pearlescent skin dimming with concern. The outer patrols are only the first layer of defense. Inside, the archive itself is alive with security systems that would make the Guardians seem primitive. Dr. Morrison looked up from her analysis of the strange, glowing vegetation they'd collected. Captain, these plants, they're not just bioluminescent. They're absorbing and redirecting energy from the Guardians' patrol fields. That's why they've survived here. Sarah's eyes lit up with that particular gleam that meant a plan was forming. Naira, your people built the Guardians to protect knowledge. They must have needed a way to access the archive themselves. How did they do it? Naira's crystalline eyes shifted, reflecting the hologram's light in complex patterns. We used quantum resonance keys, tuned to our specific biological signatures. But those were lost in the catastrophe, and even if we had one, my presence would trigger the defensive protocols immediately. But what if we could fake a key? Sarah asked, turning to Park. Lieutenant, those energy readings you've been gathering from the plant life, could we replicate that signature? Park's fingers flew over his portable console. Maybe. The plants are creating a kind of electromagnetic camouflage. With the right modifications to our shield generators. He trailed off, lost in calculations. Do it, Sarah ordered. Morrison, help him isolate the exact frequency. Torres, maintain perimeter watch. No surprises. As her team worked, Sarah noticed Naira standing apart, her gaze fixed on the towering spire of the archive. She approached the alien, recognizing the look of someone haunted by their past. "What aren't you telling us?" Sarah asked quietly. Naira was silent for a long moment. "The archive doesn't just contain knowledge," she finally admitted. "It contains power. The kind of power that reshaped worlds and moved stars. The kind of power that attracted them. We called them the Void Hunters. They came from between the galaxies, drawn to advanced civilizations like predators to prey. They didn't want to conquer or destroy. They wanted to consume, to absorb all knowledge, all technology, all life into themselves." Naira's skin rippled with darker colors. "We fought them for centuries, created weapons and defenses beyond imagination. But they kept coming, kept adapting. The archive contains everything we learned about them, including the one weapon we never dared to use." "What kind of weapon?" "One that could rewrite the fundamental laws of space-time within a localized area. We called it the Reality Forge. But its power was too great, too unpredictable. Using it might have destroyed the Void Hunters, but it could have also unraveled the very fabric of our galaxy." Sarah absorbed this information, understanding now the true weight of responsibility they carried. "And now the Void Hunters are returning. I've tracked their movements through deep space. Within a generation, they'll reach Earth's sector of space. That's why I waited in the Nexus station for so long, waiting for a species advanced enough to help, but different enough from us to possibly succeed where we failed." Park's excited voice interrupted them. "Captain, we've got it. The modified shield generators are ready. We should be able to mask our approach to the archive." Sarah looked at her team. Humans who had traveled across the galaxy seeking knowledge and discovery, now standing on the precipice of something far greater. Then she looked at Naira, the last survivor of a civilization that had faced the ultimate test and fallen. "Let's move," Sarah commanded. "Morrison, you're monitoring the shield frequencies. Park, keep tracking Guardian movements. Torres, you're our rear guard. Naira, lead the way." They approached the archive under the cover of their modified shields, the air around them shimmering like heat waves. The Guardians' massive forms moved past them, their sensors confused by the electromagnetic camouflage. At the archive's entrance, Naira placed her hand on a crystalline panel. "Once we're inside, there's no going back," she warned. "The archive will sense my presence, and every defense system will activate. We'll have minutes at most to reach the central core." Sarah checked her weapon and nodded to her team. Each of them returned her gaze with determination. This was what humanity did best, facing the unknown, pushing boundaries, finding ways to overcome impossible odds. "Sometimes the best way back is forward," Sarah said, quoting an old Earth saying. "Open it." The entrance dissolved like mist, revealing a corridor that seemed to be made of living light. As they stepped inside, the archive awakened around them, and the race against time began. Above them, through the crystal walls, they could see the Guardians turning, their ancient protocols activating as they sensed the intrusion. The legacy of two civilizations, one ancient and fallen, one young and rising, was about to collide. And in that collision lay either salvation or destruction for them all. Rising storm. The archive's corridors pulsed with living light as Sarah Chen and her team raced through them, their footsteps echoing off walls that seemed to shift and flow like liquid crystal. Behind them, the sounds of awakening defense systems grew louder, more urgent. "The central core is 3 levels down," Naira called out, her iridescent form nearly invisible against the archive's shifting walls. "But the primary lift systems are offline. We'll have tow." A barrier of pure energy suddenly materialized ahead of them, cutting off their path. Sarah skidded to a halt, raising her hand to signal the others. "Options." Park was already scanning the barrier, his instruments struggling to make sense of the alien technology. "It's some kind of quantum field, Captain. Similar to our shield technology, but orders of magnitude more advanced. Can we breach it? Not directly, but Park's eyes widened as he studied his readings. The field is drawing power from nodes in the walls. If we could overload them. Sarah turned to Morrison. Those energy-absorbing plants we studied, could their properties help us? Morrison was already pulling samples from her pack. The cellular structure might be able to disrupt the power flow, but we'd need a way to amplify their effect. Use the modified shield generators, Sarah decided. Reverse the polarity. Turn them into energy projectors instead of dampeners. As her team worked, Sarah noticed Naira staring at them with an unreadable expression. Something wrong. You humans, Naira said softly. You see impossible barriers and immediately start looking for ways around them. My people would have spent days analyzing the quantum field's properties, seeking to understand its fundamental nature. But you? She gestured at Morrison and Park, who were already jerry-rigging their equipment. You just adapt. A thunderous boom echoed through the corridor, and the floor trembled. Torres, watching their rear, called out, "Multiple Guardian signatures converging on our position, Captain. 2 minutes, maybe less." Sarah helped Morrison position the modified shield generator. Sometimes understanding comes after survival. Ready? Morrison nodded, attaching the last connection. Power levels are highly unstable, but it should work. For about 30 seconds. That's 29 seconds more than we need. Sarah activated her comm. Torres, Park, covering positions. Morrison, stand by on the generator. Naira, stay close to me. The generator hummed to life, its modified field interacting with the plant samples. The barrier before them flickered, its perfect surface developing ripples like a disturbed pond. Sarah watched the energy readings climb, waiting for the perfect moment. Now, Morrison triggered the device. A wave of disrupted energy swept through the corridor, and for a brief moment, the barrier destabilized. Sarah grabbed Naira's arm and ran, the rest of the team close behind. They cleared the barrier just as it snapped back into place, more powerful than before. The archive is learning, Naira warned as they ran, adapting its defenses to our methods. Each barrier will be stronger, more resistant to. She was cut off as the floor beneath them suddenly became transparent, revealing a drop of several stories to the archive's lower levels. Before anyone could react, the surface dematerialized completely. They fell, but Sarah was already moving. Torres. Grapple line. Torres fired his magnetic grapple into the wall, the line spooling out. Sarah caught it with one hand, grabbed Naira with the other, while Park and Morrison linked arms to form a human chain. They swung in a Y-arc, using their momentum to crash through a crystalline window into a lower level. Rolling to her feet, Sarah did a quick check of her team. Everyone was scraped and bruised, but alive. The room they'd landed in was different from the corridors above. Darker, filled with humming machinery that seemed to pulse with its own inner light. The archive's processing core. Naira breathed, her crystalline eyes wide. But it's changed. These systems, they're not just storing information anymore. They're preparing. Park's scanner beeped urgently. Energy signatures are off the charts, Captain. Something's powering up, drawing massive amounts of power from everywhere. A holographic display suddenly blazed to life around them, filling the air with streams of alien data. Naira's skin paled as she read the symbols. No, this can't be. What is it? Sarah demanded. The archive isn't just a repository. Naira's voice shook. It's a beacon. When we entered, when it recognized my presence, it sent a signal. The Void Hunters. They're coming. Now. As if in response, a deep vibration ran through the entire structure. The holographic displays turned red, showing a massive object decelerating from faster-than-light speed at the edge of the system. How long? Sarah's mind was already racing through options, possibilities. Hours, maybe less. Naira moved to a control panel, her fingers dancing over the crystalline surface. The reality forge is our only chance now. But activating it, the power requirements alone would tear this planet apart. Sarah watched her team, Morrison analyzing the alien data with fierce concentration, Park jury-rigging their equipment to interface with archive systems, Torres securing their position with practiced efficiency. Then she looked at Naira, the last survivor of a mighty civilization, fighting to prevent history from repeating itself. Then we better find a way to power it that doesn't destroy the planet, Sarah said firmly, because I didn't come 30,000 light years and crash land on an alien world just to give up now. The archive trembled again, but this time it wasn't from the Void Hunters. The Guardians had found them. Through the crystalline walls, they could see massive shapes converging on their position, ancient protectors about to become their executioners. Time was running out. The reality forge waited somewhere below them, an ancient weapon of unimaginable power. Above, the Guardians closed in, and beyond the planet's atmosphere, something ancient and hungry was awakening from its long journey between the stars. Sarah checked her weapons charge and looked at her team. Let's make history, again. Humanity's promise. The reality forge chamber was a perfect sphere of crystalline technology, suspended in a vast underground cavern. Streams of energy coursed through transparent conduits in the walls, all converging on a central platform where an object about the size of a human fist hovered in midair, a geometric shape that seemed to exist in more dimensions than the eye could process. The heart of the reality forge, Naira explained as Sarah's team secured the chamber entrance, capable of rewriting the laws of physics within a localized space, but the power requirements. Sarah studied the readouts on Park's scanner. The Void Hunter's ship is decelerating. 20 minutes until they enter orbit. She turned to her team. Options. Morrison looked up from where she was analyzing the chamber's power systems. The archive's main reactor can't generate enough energy without going critical. We'd need at least 3 times its current output. What about the Guardians? Park suggested. They're powered by quantum cores. If we could harness them somehow. A massive impact shook the chamber. Through the crystalline walls, they could see Guardians surrounding them, their massive forms preparing to breach the final barriers. Even if we could, Torres reported grimly, we'd never get to them in time. Sarah watched the energy flowing through the chamber walls, remembering something. The plants, she said suddenly. The ones that absorbed and redirected the Guardians' energy fields. Morrison, could we use their properties on a larger scale? Morrison's eyes widened. The chamber walls. They're made of the same crystalline material as the plant's cellular structure. If we could modify our shield generators again, tune them to the right frequency, we could turn the whole chamber into one massive energy collector. Park finished, already running calculations. Use the Guardian's own power against them. Do it, Sarah ordered. Torres, buy us time. Naira, I need you to prep the reality forge for activation. The moment we have enough power, we'll only get one shot at this. The next 15 minutes were a blur of desperate activity. Morrison and Park worked to modify their equipment while Torres held off the Guardians' attempts to breach the chamber. Sarah moved between them, coordinating their efforts, while Naira's fingers danced over alien control panels, programming the reality forge with parameters they hoped would stop the Void Hunters without destroying the galaxy. A final explosion rocked the chamber as the Guardians broke through. Sarah looked up to see dozens of the massive machines pouring in, their weapons charging. Now, she shouted. Park activated their modified shield generators. The chamber walls began to glow, absorbing the Guardians' energy attacks. Instead of destroying the chamber, each blast only made the crystalline surfaces pulse brighter. The Guardians, their ancient programming unable to adapt to this new situation, continued their assault, unknowingly providing exactly what was needed. Power levels rising, Morrison reported. 70%, 80, 90. Through the chamber ceiling, they could see a new light in the sky. The Void Hunter's ship entering orbit, a vast dark mass that seemed to absorb the starlight around it. They're here, Naira whispered, her skin paling to almost white. The reality forge is ready. But what? Someone needs to stay behind to maintain the field alignment. The energies involved. The chamber's automatic systems can't handle it. I'll do it. No, Sarah said firmly. Your people tried sacrificing themselves before. It didn't work. There has to be another way. She looked around the chamber, at the technology of an ancient civilization and the determination of her human team. What if we linked our systems to yours? Human and Ardani technology working together. Naira's crystalline eyes widened. The interfaces aren't compatible. It would take years to. We don't have years, Sarah interrupted. We have now. Park, Morrison, can you do it? Her officers exchanged looks. It's impossible, Park said. Then he grinned. We'll have it done in 2 minutes. They worked frantically, connecting their modified shield generators to the archive's systems through jury-rigged interfaces that would have made any engineer scream. But somehow, impossibly, it began to work. Human ingenuity merged with Ardani precision, creating something entirely new. Power at maximum, Morrison called out. Above them, the Void Hunter's ship had begun its attack, dark energy weapons tearing into the planet's atmosphere. Sarah looked at Naira. Together. The alien skin rippled with colors of hope and determination as she nodded. Together. They activated the reality forge. The geometric shape in the center of the chamber blazed with impossible light as space itself began to warp around it. The chamber filled with energy from the Guardians, channeled through human technology, and guided by Ardani wisdom. A beam of pure white light shot upward, piercing the atmosphere. When it struck the Void Hunter's ship, reality itself seemed to fold. Space twisted, time bent, and for a moment that felt like eternity, everything hung in perfect balance. Then the ship was gone, not destroyed, but transformed. Where there had been a vessel of death and consumption, there was now a garden of stars, a pocket of space where the laws of physics themselves had been rewritten to create rather than destroy. The chamber grew quiet. The Guardians, their purpose finally fulfilled, powered down. Through the crystalline walls, they could see the alien sun rising on a new day. What happens now? Sarah asked softly. Naira looked at the humans who had helped her accomplish what her own civilization could not. Now we rebuild. There is so much knowledge in the archive, so much that could benefit both our peoples. And when the other Void Hunters come, and they will come, we'll be ready. Together. Sarah smiled, looking at her team. Tired, injured, but proud. They had done what humanity did best, faced the impossible, and found a way through. Not through overwhelming power or advanced technology, but through determination, adaptability, and the willingness to reach across the gulf between species to forge something new. Together, she agreed, and in that word was a promise, not just for their two species, but for all who would face the darkness between the stars and choose to light a candle rather than curse it. Above them, the alien sun continued to rise, its light catching the crystalline spires of the archive. And in that light was the dawn of something new. A future where humanity's drive to explore and overcome would join with the ancient wisdom of the Ardani, creating a legacy that would echo across the stars for generations to come. The adventure was just beginning.